Hey there, friends. I hope you guys had a nice spring break. I'm going to do our video through a program called Screencastify today to see how it works. So just bear with me if you notice that I'm messing up. But I'm going to go through the packet of today, which is based on operations with decimals. So when I looked at those problems that you're supposed to complete, I figured there are about 3 things that you need to make sure you're remembering, and that's rounding decimals, adding, subtracting decimals, and multiplying or dividing decimals. So we'll start with rounding decimals. I think the problem asks for you to round to the nearest 10th place. Remember, we round to help us estimate, okay? But I'm going to go over a strategy to help you guys round, and then hopefully you'll be successful when you're able to do it yourself. So say I have the number. Again, this is where you'll have to bear with me because I'm using my mouse to write this. Say I have 12 and 34 hundredths, and I'm rounding to the 10th place. So again, you underline the value you're rounding to, and then you look to the right of that value. So I'm really looking at the hundredths place to help me determine the closest 10th place. And remember, when I look here, I got to see if it's below the halfway point or above the halfway point. In this situation, it is below the halfway point, which we know is 5. So if it is below the halfway point, I keep this 3/10. So 12 and 34 hundredths, I would round to 12 and 3/10. Now you notice the 12 did not change. Remember, if we are not worried about our whole numbers, we're not rounding to our whole numbers, those stay the same. The only place value that might change is the place you're rounding to, which in your problems will be the 10th place. Okay, we'll try another one. So say I have 32 and 56 hundredths. Okay, again, I'm rounding to the 10th place, so I'm going to underline my 10th place. I'm going to look to my hundredths place because that determines if I'm staying the same or moving up. This 6 is above the halfway point, which means I need to round up. When I round up, I think of, well, what's the next 10th? If I have 5/10ths, well, the next 10th is going to be 6/10ths. So the 32 and 56 hundredths would round to 32 and 6/10ths. Sorry. So when I'm rounding to the 10th place. So I hope that's helpful on the first part where it says about how much he's mixed together. So please make sure you think about when you think about, it's estimating, but when we round, we are also estimating. And this is how you can be successful with the 10th place. The next part asks you to find the actual amount of things being mixed together. So one thing I encourage you to do is when you think about mixed together, is that going to be adding or is that going to be subtracting? You guys should know that based on what makes sense. I'm not going to tell you that. That's for you to work on and do. But I am going to go over how you add and subtract decimals. If you remember our song, our Problems Up song by Ron Clark, when he says add up decimals, keep in line. It's very important that you keep your place values in line when you add or you subtract decimals. So we're going to practice that. I'm going to try to do it with text this time. Maybe that'll go a little easier than me drawing. So say that I have 2 decimals, 23 and 78 hundredths, and I am adding that to 78 and 92 hundredths. Now you notice the way I've typed, they're not exactly in line. So I am going to space these apart. It might look weird, but at least I know they're in line. And I'm going to put my symbol here. At least I know they're in line and my values that are supposed to be added together are together. Okay, so just give me 1 second to find how to underline this. I'll just use the okay. And so now you just add it like any standard algorithm you learned in 2nd grade. That might be a little bit too small.